Good night and welcome to the Galen Hour. It's always a pleasure to be here with you on Wednesday nights for the Galen Hour. The Galen Hour is a production of Galen University. It focuses on academic excellence, sustainable development, and lifelong learning. We take every opportunity to highlight our soaring eagles and all of the wonderful opportunities and activities that we do through Galen. Tonight's episode is entitled Beyond Bars. It will look at exploring recidivism, peacemaking, and restorative justice at the Belize Central Prison. We have as our guest tonight Dr. Terence Aladdin, who is in studios with us. He's a Fulbright Scholar at Galen University and an Associate Professor of Criminal Justice from the Lebanon Valley College in the USA. And Dr. Aladdin will share findings of his research that he did on recidivism, peacemaking, and restorative justice. So we're pleased to have him on with us tonight. We also have joining us Mr. Virgilio Murillo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Colby Foundation, joining us remotely. Welcome, Mr. Murillo. Thank you for joining us tonight. And at the halfway mark, we'll have two of our Galen Eagles joining us as well. So thank you for joining us tonight. And it's always a pleasure to host the Galen Hour. We'll be right back with after a short break.
To a world of endless possibilities where academic excellence meets the beauty of nature. Join us at Galen University in beautiful Belize, where we always excel.
Galen University, more than just a place to study.
Welcome back to the Galen Hour. As I had introduced earlier, we have in studios with us Dr. Terence Aladdin, and we want to talk about the research Dr. Aladdin did at the Belize Central Prison, the Colby Foundation. So our topic tonight is Beyond Borders, and Dr. Aladdin, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. With such a rich information that you have to share tonight, and so we want to get started by you explaining recidivism, because it's a term that comes up quite often when we talk about your research, and if you could get us started with that, that would be good.
Yeah. Recidivism can be a tongue twister. So
it can.
Yes. So what recidivism is the reoffending by offenders who have been released from prison after over a period of time. We look to see if they're reoffended, and generally what we have there isn't any consensus as to the time span. Some criminologists look at it at 2 years, some look at 3 years, some look at 5, some look at 7. So there isn't a universal agreement on how many years we can say from the time a person is released to the time they're actually reoffend again. So it varies. So if I'm doing a study where I'm looking at recidivism, my time is usually 3 years, but some other person could look at it at 5 years.
Okay, great. Thank you. So it's reoffenders.
Yes.
We're looking at. Great. And this is information I'm hoping our listening audience are tuned in to hear, because it's really good to see this type of research done with our inmates and to find out what we are doing, what could be done, how do we approach justice and restorative justice as well. Mr. Murillo, I know you've joined us remotely or virtually, sorry. So I want us to talk though about the Beyond Borders initiative, that is an initiative of the Colby Foundation and Galen University through Dr. Terence Aladdin. So if you could tell us a little bit about what that coordinated initiative and effort is.
Yes, the effort is a combination of Galen University accepting me to do a study along with Mr. Murillo and the big Colby Foundation working together, and this was a collaboration. This is what I want to emphasize. This is one of the most extensive studies on recidivism that ever occurred in Belize or at Belize Central Prison. So this is a really important study, and it could not have happened without the collaboration of both Galen and the Colby Foundation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Terence. Mr. Murillo, would you like to comment about the relationship and partnership?
Absolutely. I received an email from Dr. Cynthia Eve Aird some years ago, back in 2019, if my memory serves me well, and requesting for me to connect with Dr. Aladdin, who had the interest in doing this study. And I did not know Dr. Aladdin from Adams, but I was always keen. I was always keen on, wanting to know scientifically how our recidivism was doing. I always knew that it was low, but I could not prove it. I mean, Dr. Aladdin, obviously, I mean, he has his degrees and he's well qualified for that kind of research. And I said to Dr. Eve, absolutely, make the connection. And she copied me in on an email. And that is where it all started. And then we began communicating, Dr. Aladdin and myself. And he started telling me what it is that he will be needing and when he plans to come and blah, blah, blah. But certainly we connected from then. And then he started, coming to look at the data. I shared a lot of data with him on imprisonment, of course. And that is how everything started. But it has been a wonderful relationship and collaboration with Dr. Aladdin over the years, no doubt about it.
Fantastic. And we thank you, Dr. Aladdin, for choosing our Central Prison to do your research with. I know you had visited Belize several times prior to coming back as a Fulbright scholar, so you have been doing your research in Belize for a while.
I have. Yes.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about the findings? What were the key findings of this research?
There are three key findings. The first one is that Belize has a low recidivism rate, and this is very positive news for Belize. The Colby Foundation, this recidivism rate is actually 26%, but if you take out the minor crimes that occur, it's actually 16%. So that is phenomenal when we think of the rest of the world. In the United States, the recidivism rate is, if you look at the federal prisons, it's 46%, and if you look at other state prisons, it's in the 60s. So Belize is way below that. The other findings that we found is that race is important in Belize. When we think that race is not significant, race is significant when we look at recidivism. And finally, age. The age. What we found in this study is that in the rest of the world, most crime starts to go down when a person hits in the mid-20s. In Belize, unfortunately, crime doesn't go down until a person hits in the mid-30s.
Oh, wow. So race and age are two factors that have stood out?
Yes.
And our rate is low?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So that's a good start.
Yes.
So
Can I just say something? When Dr. Aladdin talks about the petty offenses, we're talking about things like riding bicycle up a one-way street. We're talking about things like wandering abroad, which is a crime whereby if the police find you walking on the street and you can't really say what you're up to, they would send you to prison for those kinds of things. Ridiculous, but I guess it's in the books and the police has a job to do. Littering, of course, loitering, of course. That is what we're talking about. Vehicular offenses, regardless of how minor they are, like driving without a valid driver's license, not to mention child maintenance and those kinds of things. Debtor, somebody that owes a debt. Yeah.
Oh wow. So what, if I may ask, what percentage of our inmates are in for petty offenses? Is it a large portion of our population, Mr. Murillo?
It's a significant. Let me just look at some number here because I was just looking at it. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's like 19. It's like 19%, 19.5%.
19.5%
Right.
for wandering,
Yes,
Uh-huh.
minor crimes, yes.
for petty
Right.
crimes, riding up
Right.
stop, as we would call it in Belize.
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay, that
So
this is sorry, you were going to say something else, Mr. Maria?
no. It's about 19%, 20% thereabout. Yeah.
Okay, great. When you did the research, Dr. Aladdin, what you used 250 participants.
Yes.
That is representative. What percentage of our prison inmates?
At that time, it was just before, if I remember correctly, it's just before COVID, and it was approximately about 20%.
20%.
Yes.
Okay, 20% of our inmates. And how were they chosen? How did we choose?
This was a randomized access. Inmates were asked to volunteer, and we give them a informed consent, tell them they didn't have to volunteer, they didn't have to participate, and so it was done voluntarily and randomly chosen.
Oh, great. All right. So it's a good representation then,
Yes.
right? So tell us what else you found. Yes, we know age, race, and the percentage, but what else did your research uncover?
What I uncover is what I call it criminalization of poverty. Most of the people that are incarcerated in Belize are incarcerated for minor crimes. If I remember correctly, the number is about 80%. 80% of the people who are incarcerated in Belize are incarcerated for minor, non-violent crimes. And we need to do something to address those, because incarcerating a person for riding a bicycle, loitering, to me doesn't make a lot of sense. We are wasting resources. We can use those resources other places in the prison system.
Indeed. Mr. Maria, what are some of the efforts that you have done in your time at the prison to address the fact that indeed we have a lot of petty crimes and what Dr. Aladdin calls the criminalization of poverty?
Yes.
Are there any initiatives that you have taken to address this issue?
Well, certainly we don't have much choice on who comes to us. They're sent to us. I know for sure that the current Attorney General recently they drafted up legislation, one of them being the alternative to imprisonment, where they're going to start issuing community work orders and those kinds of things, alternatives to sending people to prison. But that is going to take a while to start phasing in, because it just happened this year. And, like everything else, it takes a while. But in the meantime, while we have them, we try to provide them with the necessary programming, so that at least they go back out being a better person than they entered. There's not much we can do, like I said, because we don't control who comes to us.
Yes.
All we can do is receive them and try to offer them programming and counseling and what have you, education, vocational skills, whatever we may have available to turn them around.
Yes. So what did you find to be the attitude of the repeat offenders?
Okay, that I will let Mr. Murillo answer.
Yes, Mr. Murillo.
Yeah. We certainly have a challenge with repeat offenders, and I will let you know quite candidly. The lower courts are not really checking out the background of these guys, and because of that, they're doling out very light sentences. And we do have, a few guys, I estimate around 50, that keep coming to prison over and over again. I've been in the prison system since 2002, and over my 22 years that I've been there, I have literally seen them come and go 3 times, in some instances 4 times per year, on conviction. Uh, it got so bad. I mean, it is so bad that I recall one time there was a repeat offender that came to prison for stealing the 5-gallon water bottles from the magistrate's court in Orange Walk. Would you believe that?
Wow.
Right? While there's a camera looking at him. So that just goes to show the impunity. And I believe that the short sentences, is not working. So then the research shows you that when it comes to repeat offenders, they need longer sentences, because the programming for them has got to be longer and intense.
So what is a short sentence?
You're looking at 2 months, 3 months, 6 months.
And
The most I've seen that it has gone from time to time is a year. But
year.
most of the time it's anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And they do not feel it. Believe you me.
They're not feeling it. That's
Nope.
what you said? Yep. So you would recommend longer sentences, and what would a longer sentence look like? How many, not 3 to 4 to a year, but how much longer do you think you would
Well,
actually need to reform in prison?
I'll tell you what. We just released a guy on parole after almost 7 years, and he's right back on crack cocaine.
Oh man.
And so I always maintain that rehabilitation is probably just like Christianity. It's there to save the lost souls, but some people are going to hell no matter what you do for them.
Yes.
But I want to leave the sentencing to be determined by the magistrates in the lower courts. And but they should gauge it or judge it based on the criminal history of the offender. Because these guys, I'm telling you, they've been through the prison system for the last 22 years that I've been there.
Yeah.
20, 30, so as much as 40 times.
Wow.
And come.
That's
Yep.
incredible. Do you think being incarcerated for some of our repeat offenders is just part and a way of life for them? Do you think they prefer to be in prison?
I don't know that they prefer that, but they certainly don't have the family support on the outside, because and I don't know what causes it. I would only think that maybe the families are so frustrated with them that they just decide to leave them to punish. So I don't know that it's that they want to be there, but they have no other way out. There's no support on the outside, no family, no housing. And this is why the prison some time ago had gotten the name Hateville Ramada, because there was that impression that people feel like, it's a Ramada hotel. It's not. We try our very best to make sure that the prison has its deterrent and rehabilitative effect that it ought to have, being a prisoner.
Yeah, indeed. One wonders maybe even what a prisoner might have to deal with in prison. Maybe it's better than not having a shelter, food to eat, and a place to sleep. Dr. Terence, would you like to chime in on that?
Generally, what we have to think, when a person is incarcerated and they're released, they're going back right to the same environment that got them there in the first place. Therefore, we have to provide the resources to help them when they get out to not reoffend. And I don't think that is being done consistently in society. A person is back out in their environment, and the options that they have is limited, and those limited options generally end them back right in the prison. So we need to be able to work with them.
Yes. So whose responsibility it is to ensure that structures are in place, that systems are in place, that programs are in place, so that our inmates, once they're released back into society, can actually function in society?
It's everyone's.
It's everyone's.
It's society's problem. It's a societal problem, and we have to address it as a society. And it means working together. We must have our clergy involved. We must have the government involved, our decision makers involved. We just can't leave it to the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system cannot work by itself. We need this. We go back to that. We need a village. Well, we need the entire everyone working. If we need our private business, we need public-private partnerships. All those things are helpful.
Absolutely. It is not a job for anyone part of our society or faction of our society. It can't be just government. It can't just be the criminal justice system. I never taught the clergy, but indeed the clergy should be involved. But tell us, Mr. Murillo, what are some of the programs or systems in place to support our inmates when they're released? What do we currently have in place?
I don't know that there's much going on the outside. I know there was the hub that was that the Love Foundation along with the U.S. Embassy came up with. That's one avenue. I know once they're in the prison, we try to offer them, besides their addiction treatment programs, we try to offer them work skills, whether it is work skills and vocational skills, whether it's plumbing, electrical, farming, carpentry, what have you. But that is when they are behind bars. When they come on the outside, I don't know what level of support. I know there's quite a number of business people that don't cater, because I've had a few business friends that I have asked personally to try and consider giving employment to a few of these guys, but they are scared. They are really, really scared of hiring ex-inmates, especially if they had gone to prison for burglary or robbery. They would tell you plain, listen, I don't want that guy to set up a robbery on me. So before that, they don't even want to give the guy a second chance. So there's no empathy or sympathy as it relates to them from some business people, as far as I'm concerned. Very few businesses I know offer them employment, and kudos to those businesses. And so far, they seem to be doing excellently well. They have not let down those businesses so far, and I'm very happy to know that and to continue to see them being successful in their rehabilitation and reformation.
Indeed.
But I don't know, besides the hub, I don't know that there's any other program going on, but like Dr. Aladdin says, it should be the entire society, the government, the business people, the society as a whole that should assist with these guys.
Indeed, but it's good to know that some of our businesses are willing, and kudos indeed to those businesses. But we can also understand the fear, and from those who are not there yet, who are not willing yet, and maybe because they're not structures in place. You're literally taking a full risk on your own if you take in a released criminal into your business. And we talk about society as a whole, so it's more than just the business places. How do residents contribute to this? Dr. Allen, do you have any examples of how getting prisoners back into society has worked in other areas in the U.S. maybe?
Yeah. Well, I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and we have one of the highest recidivism rate in Harrisburg. I work with some juvenile when they're detained, and what we've done, we've actually have public-private partnerships whereby we have the business community, we have the clergy, the religious communities, and we try to work what I call a type of restorative justice program, whereby we find schooling. We see those kids that need schooling. We find schooling. We find after-school jobs, things like that, and it's been fairly successful.
Well, good to know. So there are programs that Belize could adopt.
Yes.
But we are a much smaller country.
Yes.
Our society, we almost know everybody. It's, I think that contributes a lot to the fear, to not knowing if we're safe. And Belize we have reached a point where our citizens do have a fear of, for their safety.
Yes. And I hear what you're saying, the fear, but the fact that we know everyone and we know we have an idea who is going to likely to commit the crimes, I think it should be easier for us to implement it, because as a community, we have our eyes on you. We know you did something. We have our eyes on you. Therefore, we can help you. We're here to help you. And I think that works a lot better when the community is more close-knit than when it's more diverse. Because everyone in the community knows, okay, Billy is in trouble. We're keeping an eye on Billy. That's how it works. We need that village to work together.
We do need that village, and this is where the empathy comes in. And
Yes.
When we look at society, are we really still an empathetic society, or have we moved away from caring for our neighbors, and even more caring for when our neighbors have gone to prison and are now have come back out to join us back in society? And so these are some important questions and considerations for our people and our society. But empathy, what does empathy looks like? Empathy for an offender who is now back into society.
Listen, I'd say this. Could you name one person who hasn't made a mistake? And if we can do that, I mean, we have to understand people make mistakes.
Absolutely.
That's why we have erasers and pencils, and we have back keys on computers, because they know we're going to make mistakes. So when you make a mistake, it's expected, let's give a person a chance.
Okay, I absolutely like that. Mr. Murillo, what does empathy look like? I like what Dr. Aladdin says. Everybody makes some mistakes, and indeed we do know that there are lots of offenders who are in for petty crimes. So that's maybe where we can start.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
It is certainly giving them a second chance. Again, when you were asking about what programs are available, I was also thinking too that halfway houses are unavailable. We have very few, and I think one of them that I know can only hold, I think, about 10 persons at one time. So that's not much at all for the number of people that are coming out of prisons. Believe it or not, we have at least almost 2,000 people passing through the prison gates every year, without a doubt. The only time we saw a dip with that was when the pandemic was on, and that is because of the restrictions with movements and so forth. But once you don't have a pandemic in progress, you're looking at almost 2,000 people passing through the prison gates. And that is aside from those who are already serving a sentence. I mean, we're talking about new people. But certainly empathy is giving them that second chance, understanding that, imprisonment does ruin lives, and that people need to be given a second chance. Once they show that they have changed, they should be given a second chance.
Absolutely. So people do make mistakes. I really like your analogy of the eraser and the backspace key that you can erase and delete. So we're talking with Dr. Terence Aladdin and Mr. Murillo from our Colby Foundation. We're talking about beyond bars and recidivism, restorative justice, and empathy. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with the Galen Hour. Stay tuned.
Galen University prides itself in doing everything possible to facilitate the success of our Galen Eagles. The flexible payment plans, student loan options, and Eagle scholarships make Galen affordable, accessible, and attractive. Treat yourself to the gift of a Galen education. Give us a call at 615-3129 or 614-6415 for more information. Come soar with the Galen Eagles.
My name is Brandon Flowers. I am a criminal justice major at Galen University. I am currently pursuing my bachelor's degree. I'm here reaching out to boys and men within Belize society. Come and be a part of Galen. Galen is a welcoming institution. When you come here at Galen, you feel like you're at home with the vibrant teachers you meet, the student body that encourage, each other, and also the athlete program. You meet a lot of guys that involved in sport. Not only sport, we also need to do well in academic as well. So excelling is like our main priority, and everything fall after. I'm a living testimony of what Galen has to offer. Galen is not just an institution, Galen is more family orientated because when you're a part of the Galen family, you're not left out. Everyone means something to the institution. My message to you guys today, come back to school and embrace your strength and confidence.
Welcome back to the Galen Hour. We're talking about beyond bars, exploring recidivism, peacemaking, restorative justice at our central prison. We have in studios with us Dr. Terence Aladdin. We have online Mr. Virgilio Murillo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Kobe Foundation. Joining us after the break are two of our Galen Eagles, Corinne Palacio, who is an athlete at Galen, and we'll get to talk to Kerwin, about his experience playing basketball at the Central Prison as part of our criminal justice initiative to work with recidivism and that whole restorative justice. And we also have joining us Beyonce Villafranco, who is also a criminal justice student and the president of the
Vice President.
The Vice President
of the Criminal Justice Club.
Of the Criminal Justice Club. So welcome to our two Eagles who have joined us on the couch. And yes, we continue our conversation about recidivism, restorative justice. So let's talk a little bit about the basketball game. How did the basketball game come about? Dr. Aladdin, would you like to?
Yes, as part of my presentation at the Kobe Foundation, we thought it would be great to also have a basketball game. It's actually the basketball game, if I remember, it's annually. So we decided that this would be a good time to have it on the same day as my presentation.
Okay, so it has, I know we have been doing it, but so it was just
it's just
planned
a
that
convenient
way.
time.
Yeah, convenient. So, well, Kerwin, you want to tell us a little bit, have you participated in more games than the one that just happened last week, Friday?
Yes, so this was actually my second year participating in the event. The first time around, well, when the coach told us about it, I thought he was joking because, thinking about going to play to the prison and nobody really think that's true, Yeah. And then, but the experience, definitely nice at first, initially. I mean, anybody will watch movie and say prison basketball, would I expect that? So definitely somewhere made a look out for and whatnot. But when we reached, the guys are pretty chill and whatnot. They respect we respect them. They play hard, and we just out there to play basketball and idea.
Wonderful. So yeah, we'll come back to. We want to hear a lot more about the game and what it really the significance behind it. But let me just ask Mr. Murillo. Mr. Murillo, the basketball game. How you? I assume you were and you are a part of organizing this initiative. Galen is really pleased to be able to partner with the Kobe Foundation in this way, and our athletes, being actively involved in this initiative as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm always ready to collaborate. Like I always maintain, these guys are human beings, regardless of what they have done. They are still human beings. They're flesh and blood, and they made mistakes. And the consequence for their mistake is the deprivation of their liberty, imprisonment, that is, incarceration. When Galen, approached me some years ago, asking for them to start coming into the prison and having matches with the inmates. Hey, they're not violent. The young man said that when you watch movies, you would be scared to want to visit a prison and play in a prison because you would think the guys are rough and rugged and violent and those kinds of things, and they would fight with you if they lost and those kinds of stuff. But that's not the way. Our population are very humble, humane people, and they just need that opportunity to, at least, see that they're still a part of the society, and anything we can do that could be a positive for them, we want to do it for them. So I have absolutely no problem approving for Galen to bring in the teams. Just to give you an idea, though, I think we lost our game last year to them, and we beat them this time around.
Deb, are you talking about our good Galen Eagles, Mr. Maria?
No, because I just want to set the record straight, right? I think we've played like 4 games or 5 games thus far, and I think we've won 3 and
Yes.
maybe lost 2 or
Okay.
something to that effect.
Yes. Thank you for setting the record straight. Kerwin, are you going to just take that? I mean,
Tough. So yes, last year when we went out, we won. We played a hard-fought match. But this year around, I guess the guys came with a vengeance. Their team was pretty stacked because last year they didn't have as much players. This year around, like they had like could have make 3 squad with all the man they had. But yes, the guys came out and played hard, way harder than we played this year around. That's because well, we have a lot of new guys joining the team. So I guess, like I mentioned, anybody their initial experience with the, coming to prison and playing, they'll be a bit nervous because I mean you feel like you have to play against killers and whatnot. So you're just yeah. But so I guess the guys were a bit nervous. So that's a lot of turnovers and whatnot, and the guys ended up beating us.
Yeah. So I congratulate your team.
So they spooked you.
No, the newer guys I can see it, but yeah, so that just happened and it wasn't meant to be for us this year, but
Next year.
big up the winners, you know, big up the winners. Definitely I'll come back stronger next year. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the sportsmanship. But the fair maybe for the new players on our Galen Eagle team probably is really maybe a bit intimidated. So I like the fact that you brought that up. For the newer members of our team, they were a bit intimidated. Maybe that impacted how they played. Yeah. There was a time when it was your first time. Was there any of that, what fear or intimidation?
I mean, my first time around, I guess for a bit until I started playing. But I mean, walking in on the court, seeing the guys on the court, some of the guys just their appearance alone are a bit intimidating. Because although I might be the tallest player, well, the tallest person in the area, the guys are some of them are jacked up, muscle up with a lot of tattoos, and their face is a bit, you know. But after you start playing and then you see how they play and whatnot, you just realize it's just basketball end of the day and you just go out there and do your thing.
I want to repeat something that Mr. Maria said. After all, they're humans, they're people, you know, and so it's that human aspect and that appealing to the people side of our inmates that is so important and so commendable here. So I invite or any of you here to speak to what the significance. It might just be a basketball game. We might have gotten beaten this time around, but our inmates got an opportunity to interact with Galen University's basketball team, with other young black men, young Hispanic men who are pursuing an education. So their life paths have taken them in different directions. What is the significance? I don't know if you'd want to chime in here, Ms. Villafranco?
Yes, of course. So the significance of having young black men, Spanish men, white men, all of us is very important in inclusivity because we are acknowledging the fact that they are humans. So of course they would want to participate in such an enjoying sport. So I must say that.
Yeah. Are there any quotes, Mr. Murillo, Dr. Aladdin, that you may have or from any of the inmates who were on the team? That what were their sentiments?
I can't speak for. I didn't speak to the inmates after, but what I do know about sports like these, interactions like these, it sends a positive message. If we are able to change the life of one person, one of those basketball players, we've done a lot. Yes. And I'm sure just having to interact with college, when there's programs in the United States whereby when we have young juveniles interact with college students, you see their eyes light up and I want to come to college. You never know by playing these games who we're going to affect. Just having a discussion with someone from college. Oh, I had a discussion with someone from college. Maybe I want to go to college.
Yes, I love
So those
it.
are the things that happen.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Murillo?
They certainly enjoyed the game, and they have enjoyed all games, and they're looking forward to a rematch as far as I am aware. um, I was told that they want to do this rematch at the Civic Center. So
Oh, wow.
if there's where they want to have it, then there's where we're going to have the rematch. So you don't need to feel intimidated being in the prison
In the
environment.
prison.
Just let us know when. But we currently have the Amadea Jamaat community that is sponsoring a basketball tournament amongst the inmate population, where the different buildings compete against each other, and then they have a playoff at the end of the day. It started this month.
Yes, started
And
last
I think-
Saturday.
And I think that by early January, it should be over, and they'll be vying for the championship. But that happens every year too.
As well.
So that is why these guys are so skilled at their basketball.
Yes, I was going to say the strategy. You just heard the strategy. They are playing against each other in prison, preparing for when you guys come. So it's always good to know the strategy of your opponents. Right, Kerwin?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Did you have an opportunity to have a conversation with any of...
One-on-one conversation with any of them? No, sadly.
No, you didn't. Is there any, at basketball games where there's any shouting of... to try and in a regular basketball game where you try to get to your opponents a little bit.
No, actually there was none of that.
None of
Maybe
that.
some guys off the that were watching the game, they were like shouting at us, but that was like they wanted us to beat them. They want us to dunk on them and whatnot. So yeah, they just wanted to. Yeah.
Interesting. So other inmates telling you all to do better.
Yes.
Good.
They are traitors.
Traitors indeed, right? Indeed. Oh my! But maybe they really wanted for you all to see the skill,
Yeah.
the skill of their their team members who are playing on their behalf.
One of the things that we definitely beat into the prisoners using the Jamaat communities, the opportunity with the Jamaat community, Amadea Jamaat community, is to teach them the good sportsmanship.
Yeah.
So they're learning a lot of stuff aside refereeing and those kinds of things. They are learning good sportsmanship. There must be a loser, there must be a winner, but you cannot be hating up against each other and those kinds of things. Yeah.
Very good. I mean, and that's part of the restorative justice, and just restorative activities to help these young men. Some of them are young men.
Yeah.
Very young, right? Realize that those of us on the outside are considering them, and we're looking for ways that we can help them to succeed and re-enter society when that time comes. Dr. Aladdin, would you like to make any comment at this point about the initiative?
What I want to, the programs that we have at Galen and at Colby, the fact that we are working together, there's so much what I call evidence-based practices that are occurring. We can use that to actually implement into society to make re-entry much better. And what we need is support from our private partners, support from our government, support from society in general. Because if we don't have that support, the efforts that we're putting in wouldn't be as successful as it should be. So we need to get more partners involved so we can help those people who are ready and willing to make the change.
Yes, so that public-private partnership is absolutely important, and the whole society needs to be involved. Very good. As a young Black Belizean man, Kerwin, how are you impacted by this experience?
I mean, it's definitely a great experience for anyone. Well, that's what I believe at least. You go back there, you see, well, from what you can see, the livelihood of the guys and whatnot. You actually go back and see some people that you went to class with or you know from your childhood. And just got you thinking that yeah, you wouldn't want to be in that same situation or anything like that. So it makes you strive to not want to put yourself in any situation to get you back there as well too.
Yeah. So it does have positive effects on you as well, right?
Yes,
But I'm happy to hear that while it for you it opens your eyes to and makes you appreciate the path that you've taken. It also makes you realize that there are men behind you who you were growing up with as or grew up with as children. You know, and that I think that happens a lot of us, and it comes back to the small society that we talk about.
Yes.
I often talk about I know if I would ever go to prison, lots of people know me by my dad's restaurant, so by Big Daddy's when I was growing up there, and some of the people that I grew up with are in there, and then they would call me by the names of the the products that my dad made. So that'd be a Garcho Gal or Great Dog or that type of thing, you know. So but we do meet people from our neighborhoods.
Yeah, our
It's our very
community.
neighborhood children and friends, or at least the people that we've seen who are in prison. So they're not foreign to our society. And so if we can keep that in mind and believe, Mr. Murillo, that indeed they're still humans and that there's hope for...
There's a good old African proverb that I like very, very much. And I can relate. It says, the child that is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And this is what a lot of these guys find, the situation a lot of these guys find themselves in. So
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
I think it's very powerful, yeah.
Very powerful. And indeed, I mean, so we need to not treat them as if they are not part
Yeah.
of our society. It's from us that they came. All right. How might education or access to education influence recidivism or even,
You go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to answer this because first I'd like to highlight that education is important in combating these crimes from happening in the first place. So now to answer your question, education is essential in fostering these individuals with the knowledge, the skills, the confidence to reintegrate back into society effectively. So it is a huge part of how they will be when they are in our society back. So if there's not something else important, I would say that education is the most important component when we think about reducing recidivism.
thank you, Beyonce. Absolutely. Dr. Aladdin, what were you going to say?
I have nothing else to say.
Nothing else to say. Mr. Murillo, when we talk about education, what is available for our inmates?
Well, I'll tell you what. I did a survey to check the educational level of my inmates a couple of years ago. And I'll tell you, 80% of them had less than a second farm education. And that would explain why so many of them would be in prison. And that is what Dr. Aladdin was referring to when he says that majority of the people in prison are the marginalized, those with low educational skills or levels. But certainly, we cannot overemphasize the need for education. Educated people, as far as I am aware, make better decisions, and they are more successful. So definitely, when they are in the prison, we have education available for the children. Those are the young boys that are under the age of 18. They are pretty much taking their online high school through using the Kaina platform, and we have graduated at least, I think, 13 of them, if my memory serves me well. and they've gotten their high school diploma whilst behind bars. So there's about two of them, I think, currently that are pursuing their associate's degree currently as we speak. So education is
Excellent.
definitely key, and it definitely can reduce recidivism.
Excellent. So there is an opportunity for our inmates, but they have to be 18 and younger, you're saying?
Yeah.
That is what we have available. I have not been offered any assistance or help for the adult prison population so far. I've had some visits by some high-ranking delegates who have said they will do something, but so far I haven't heard anything.
Yes.
And I don't want to be too pushy.
Yes. But this is interesting, and this is information for us as Belizeans to know. Is there interest from the older than 18?
Absolutely, there's interest. Actually, there's interest from a couple of them that were pursuing their bachelor's degree to try and continue doing it from behind bars and attain it by
Yes.
the time their sentences run out.
Yes, lots of times you do watch movies, and you'd see that that's an opportunity afforded to inmates to continue their education. So it helps with their success when they re-enter society.
Yes, education is the key to recidivism, to reducing recidivism. An educated person coming out has a lot more opportunities and those opportunities increases with education.
Fantastic. In this age of this digital era that we're in, I would hope that we can indeed afford more of our inmates and education. And so I do look forward to, this is very interesting, do look forward to seeing what are the next steps. Dr. Aladdin, what are the next steps? You've done your research.
The next steps is, again, I go back to this, we have to work to get a partnership. Everyone has to have their stake, and we have to work together to get it done. Just incarcerating someone and then sending them back out and saying, look, you're on your own after you did your time. That doesn't help. You're basically setting them up to fail. We need, I call it pre-programs, diversion programs before they get in. While they're there, the prison is currently doing it, Belize Central Prison is currently doing its part while they're there to rehabilitate them. But when they on their way out, we also need to have post programs. So we need to have pre-programs, present programs, and then post programs when they get out. That way we can have more reduced recidivism and more success. And it requires, again, everyone working together.
Everyone working together. We're in the last 5 minutes of our program. This has been such an interesting conversation. And so I want to ensure that all of our guests who have graced us with your time and information, get an opportunity for some last words. So maybe if we could start with you, Beyonce, are there any messages you'd like to send? You're one of our criminal justice students. You graduate in
Next year.
So you have
Yes.
another year. So what would be your last words to our viewing audience?
Okay, so first, I'd just like to highlight Dr. Aladdin research on empathy and recidivism, and the main factor of what was the cause of high recidivism was lack of resources, not enough employment opportunities. So if we are able to put the effort and resources in these areas, in these marginalized areas where we know vulnerable vulnerable people are, then we can slowly but surely help these individuals in getting opportunities, getting mental health resources. I would also like to state that restorative justice is a very important factor when dealing with the overcrowding in the prison, because by using these non-custodial sentences, by enforcing community service or fines and so forth, we are allowing these individuals to go back into society. Yes, do their punishment, but take the accountability of their punishment, but at the same time getting the healing that they deserve. So if there's anything that I would like the audience to stay with, is that rehabilitation works. It works more than punishment. And I would just like to look at the statistics as well. Before 2002, when the Kobe Foundation was taken over the management by Mr. Murillo, we had overcrowding. There were 12 inmates in one cell. They were in humane conditions. But when he had come in, focused on rehabilitation process, we saw significant changes in the recidivism rate. So alongside with Mr. Aladdin research that he is doing, which is very important to the Belizean people, I do believe that it will foster a safer community for all of us. So.
Very good. Thank you. Kudos to our CRJT program and to you, Beyonce. Let me go to Mr. Murillo. Everybody hopefully gets 30 seconds. Mr. Murillo, your last words.
My last words is that I don't think too many people are involved in criminal justice, and I want to encourage people to get into criminal justice programs and classes and degrees, because at the end of the day we have a lot of issues, and I'm sure those persons who study criminal justice will begin to see, when they do their researches, they will begin to see the root causes of crime. They're going to see who are the people who are really significantly affected by crime. It is marginalized. It's mostly the poor people who cannot afford an attorney and those kinds of things. But you would have to get into the prison to come and rummage through the data and see what you can see for yourself and get down to the details and see. Because I've been seeing it for the last 22 years. Like Dr. Adalin tells you, ethnicity has a lot to do with it. It's almost 50% of Creoles that are in the prison,
Yes.
And you can almost pinpoint more or less that 90% of those, 95% of those have it very hard. They're marginalized, they're poor, and that is why they're in prison, sometimes languishing, can't even get an attorney to defend them, having to wait for legal aid and all of that take many years. Sometimes because they're working, the same lawyers that are working for legal aid have private customers that they're working for, and of course they're going to give priority to their private customers.
Thank you so much. We're at the 9 o'clock hour. We stand between Belizean people and the lottery. So I thank you all for your contribution. I wish we had a little bit more time. And I want to thank our viewing audience for joining us for this episode of the Galen Hour, looking at beyond bars, recidivism, restorative justice, empathy, and thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be here next week, same place, same time, for another episode of the Galen Hour. Have a good night.